Let's see how you do under pressure. Oh, yeah. I've been wanting this forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey. Yeah. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm Kesha. I get to the paper, boy. Extra, extra.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another podcast to talk about our favorite team, the Arizona Cardinals, and hopefully everybody's having a fantastic Friday morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're The Verge. We're less than a week away from the Arizona Cardinals 2025 training camp, and I'm super excited about it. We are going to bring in my guy, Donnie from Sports Illustrated, aka SI. We're going to be chopping it up with every big storyline we can go ahead and think of. Obviously, get involved in the chat here. If you have any questions, go ahead and let us know. But without further ado, let's go and get started here. Donnie, what's up, man? How you been?
What's up, man? I feel like I say this every time I hop on, but that intro gets me hype every single time I'm in. But I'm chilling. I hope everybody's having a great Friday. It's the last Friday before training camp, and football season's here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, this is an exciting time. I know it's been a very dead off season, and I mean that's a good thing, right? I mean, I think we're kind of used to the last regime where, like, I kid you not, man, like I had content for days, but it was good for my channel. But at the end of the day, like, it was always bad. Bad stuff, talking about all the things that happened off the field. Yeah. And now we're kind of starting to see this regime with 3 years in a row. It's just football, man. Like, that's all they're focusing on. And that's obviously a beautiful thing to see. So I'm excited about it. We are less than a week away here from the 2025 training camp. I want to get started and open it up here real quick and just kind of let the audience know, where you do your work, where they can find you. And if you want to go ahead and give a plug out to what you're doing here in 2025.
Sure, appreciate it, man. Yeah, I run the Arizona Cardinals and the Phoenix Sun sites for the On SI Network. You can follow me on Twitter or X at Donnie Druin, and then si.com/NFL/Cardinals. Just will be my 5th training camp as a credentialed media member. Just crazy lucky, man. Like truly blessed to be able to do what I do for a living, and to be able to come on like the platforms like this, man. Like, I feel like I say this every time, but like your guys' community is tremendous. Besides the Carson Palmer lookalike stuff, other than that, you guys are sick. I love it.
I keep saying to myself, I'm going to get an overlay one day that's going to have Carson Palmer's son as your name tag. But I'm like, I'm not going to get that. I'm not going to do it to him.
I might. How about next time? It's just make that my like display name whenever I hop in.
Maybe next time we can do that in the 2025 season kicking off. I love it, man. I love it. All right, well, let's get started here, man. I think we're going to talk about a lot of positivity because, there's a lot of excitement going into year 3, a lot of expectations for the Arizona Cardinals. But I want to kind of talk a little bit about I don't want to say the negative side, but like, I guess if there's anything you're worried about when it comes down to this 2025 roster. I mean, obviously we don't have the final 53. We're going to go through the training camp. We're going to have to, obviously have multiple videos about who's going to make it, who's not going to make it. But if you were to look at right now the roster and what it looks like, where are you seeing that there might be some sort of, I guess, concern is the best word? Where would you say the biggest concern is for the Cardinals?
Yeah, sure. It feels like maybe it might be like nitpicking at this point because the Cardinals have done a very good job of kind of assembling a really good roster top to bottom, but no team's perfect. The Cardinals weren't able to completely satisfy every gap and every missing hole this offseason. So like there's still going to be a lot of question marks. And I think that's true from the Super Bowl defending champion Philadelphia Eagles to the team who had the number 1 pick this year. Every team has that. From looking at the Cardinals, I think there's some worry about what the offense is going to look like. No additions were made to change things. So you're basically banking on the power of continuity between guys like Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. And then Drew Petzing also being able to identify the strong points of the offense and maybe open up the playbook a little bit more. If you're looking at the offensive line, you can make an argument that, is that line going to be as good as it was last year? We know what the left side looks like. Paris Johnson, Evan Brown, yelled it for a hold at center. Can Isaiah Adams be a full-time starter at right guard? Are we going to get a healthy Jonah Williams? Is Kelvin Beachum going to be able to supplant him at right tackle? So there's some question marks along the offensive line. And then I think a big thing everybody maybe talked about last year was the lack of big plays, the lack of explosive plays down the field. They, like I said a little bit earlier, they really didn't do a whole lot to change that. They didn't bring in any outside players to maybe make a difference like that. Besides maybe Quez Watkins, who ran a 4.3 40-yard dash, but he didn't even play all of last season. So, and then you flip it over to the defensive side of the ball, and you just hope that potential lives up to the hype, because on paper the Cardinals have a very, very good defense. It should be a top 10 unit moving into next season, but it's just that just needs to come to fruition. So I'm not really worried about the defensive side of the ball. And frankly, whenever we're using the word worry, I'm not overly concerned about the offense, but like I need to see it. I need to
Yeah.
see steps made from that side of the ball, especially considering they're banking on the continuity and the experience together really paying dividends in 2025.
Yeah, why do you think that is? I mean, obviously you go into these pressers and stuff like that. I'm not sure if anybody's ever asked, but why do you think that they haven't addressed such a key? I don't know, because I always kind of harp on the idea that they probably need another weapon. I mean, I love Michael Wilson. I want him to take the next step, and to me, that's 700, 800 yards in the season. I think he hasn't cracked more than 600 yards if I can remember correctly. Then you got Marvin Harrison Jr. going to year 3, and I like Greg Dortch. I've been a big fan of him for a very, very long time. But I don't know. I would like to see another piece, preferably a over 6 foot guy in the slot. And I know Zay Jones is there, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, why do you think that they're banking so much on the current weapons in 2024 and now going to 2025? You think they're really putting it all on Kyler, or?
I think statistically they looked at the offense, and it wasn't a bad unit at all last year. And this is coming from somebody who's been very critical of that side of the ball and very critical of the Cardinals for not really making any of those changes over the
Yeah.
last few months. But like I said a little bit earlier, like, this isn't Madden. Like you can't just go and pick out these pieces. Like it's not as easy and simple as that. And so maybe they wanted a handful of guys in free agency or the draft, and things didn't shake out for whatever reason. Looking at the draft, I do think Will Johnson being available in the second round may have kind of altered their like draft plans a little bit,
Yeah.
because word around the block is that they were kind of sniffing around a receiver early, and then you get Walter Nolan in the first round, great pick, and then a talent like Will Johnson follows you at pick 47. It feels like you have to pull the trigger on that.
Yeah.
But I do think maybe more than anything, it might be a vote of confidence in Kyler Murray, because, like I said, the offense was by no means awful or dismal last year. I mean, they were 6-4, first in the division, and then Kyler throws 8 interceptions in his last 7 games, right? So it's like the potential is there. They can run the ball. They have weapons like Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. for Kyler to target. So more than anything, I think we're going to find out this year if Kyler Murray can play consistently good and at a high level, and we'll see what Drew Petzing's made of. But I think there is confidence that that unit doesn't need to be top 5 because of the defensive additions, because the defense should be so good that Kyler doesn't have to put on a cape and play Superman every other game.
Okay, perfect. Well, let's move on over here. You mentioned Will Johnson. I think that right now there's a whole big thing going on in the NFL right now, not just with the Cardinals, but I think there has been another signing of, if I can remember correctly, probably a little earlier today, but there's a lot of second round picks that have not been signed as of yet. Obviously, Will Johnson, a lot of eyes on him, potentially a first round pick right now. Where do you see or a potential signing for him to actually sign that rookie deal? Because as of right now, he's the only one that has not signed his rookie deal, but obviously not no fault to his own. He's still participated in a lot of these offseason activities. Is that correct?
Yeah. Will Johnson has been there every step of the way. And whenever he wasn't a participant, he was still on the sidelines. And I think that I think it was a hamstring injury that prevented him from running at the combine. I think that was still kind of lingering around at OTAs. But no, Will Johnson, he's been at the facility. He's not holding out by any means. And I like how he brought up that like he is the only Cardinals rookie to not have signed a contract. But a couple of days ago, only 2 second-round picks had signed their contracts. And the problem with that is that these deals were fully guaranteed, and you're starting to see a push because only first round picks have their contracts like pretty much fully guaranteed. You're starting to see a handful of those like early second round picks start to get those same deals. And what's that doing? It's creating a ripple effect for all the other guys watching and looking, saying, hey, you know what? I'm pick number 40. If pick 35 got his deal nearly fully guaranteed, I'm gonna need that.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of what you're seeing with training camp starting next week. One by one, slowly but surely, these guys are signing their deals. And so I do expect the same for Will Johnson. I don't think if it does bleed into training camp, it's not going to be anything significant. I would, great, I don't have any inside info. This isn't me reporting anything, but like I would expect something to get done before training camp, especially with the handful of guys that we have seen in the last couple of days. But it's nothing for fans to worry about. It's just contract language and guaranteed money heading to like year 3 and year 4 of the deals.
And that's the thing too. Like every year, there's something kind of new. And I mean, I'm always pro player. At the end of the day, so I mean, I could see where they're coming from. Especially you're talking about a guy like Will Johnson, and multiple people had him mocked over to potentially be a first round pick. And I know that that's scare when it comes down to that, a potential, knee lingering issue. Obviously, the Cardinals ended up sniping him here in the second round, but yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be fine. He's definitely going to sign as well. I mean, I think that's kind of really the biggest thing that we have to talk about here as Cardinal fans, which is a good. It's a good thing. I mean, we're not like the Commanders, which they're potentially might, have a verge of maybe losing out on Scary Terry. I mean, I know he kind of came out, but we don't have to worry about that, which is really good. So I do think that is going to be one of those things that is going to be resolved as well. I just for my own sanity, let's make it happen a little.
We're like they're not the Bengals with Shamar Stewart either, man.
Oh,
Like that's an ugly situation. On top of Trey Hendrickson not being paid either. Yeah.
oh my God, man, that Trey Hendrickson situation, you're 100% Shamar Stewart, man. Yeah, there's that report that came around that he said that that he wasn't he like practicing with like Texas A&M again or something like that? Or
Yeah, he was at their facility. There's reports that he could potentially re-enter the draft next year and not sign a contract.
That's crazy. No, but you're right. I mean, I'll have this problem 100 times out of yeah. I'll take this problem. No problem. I think he's definitely gonna get signed. Let's talk about here the elephant in the room, right? Let's talk about Kyler Murray. I think a lot of people have the same consensus right now with Kyler Murray, obviously going to his year 7. What are your overall thoughts and what you would like to see out of him? I know. The first half of the season was great, man. 6-4. Then
Yeah.
the dreaded freaking bye week happens every single year, and it feels like it's kind of the same thing that happens. Unfortunately, I hate putting the stigma on him, but numbers don't lie, and my eyes don't lie to me most of the time. But let me know what you think here of Kyler Murray, what you would like to see from him going into year 7.
Yeah, and I think evaluating Kyler moving into year 7, we have a good idea of what he is as a quarterback, and when he's playing very good football. But there's few like him. There's few guys in the league that possess both the natural arm talent and the athleticism that he has, and I think that's why I was a Kyler not defender, but I've been in his corner for a very long time. Like I've been a big proponent for Kyler Murray. And I remember, he's being talked about as an MVP candidate
Yeah.
halfway through last year. That they were first in division, 6-4. I remember, I think it was the Chargers. They beat Chargers of the Jets before their bye week. They won that game, and I'm like, oh man, like I got to start looking at like fights for like playoff games and stuff. Like I was so convinced they were going to keep continuing what they were going to do, and then obviously everything had happened, and I remember the last game of the season, they whooped the 49ers, and that left like a pretty positive like taste in like everybody's mouth. But I think when you look at everything as a whole, you need Kyler Murray to be more consistent, and that is pretty much the big knock on him. And that's what I would like to see him improve in year 7, because the highs are great, and every quarterback in the National Football League has bad weeks, right? But like the great ones, like Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, those guys, that they get it done consistently at a high level. They don't get too low, but they remain pretty level, if not improving after the bad games. We really don't see that from Kyler Murray very, very much. The highs are highs and the lows are very, very low, especially with the improved defensive side of the ball, like we talked about a little bit earlier. If he can just be that game manager with the high upside if needed, I think he'll be great. And that's the only thing holding him and the Cardinals back. And obviously Arizona's only going to go as far as Kyler Murray takes them.
Yeah.
But I remember that feeling last year after quote unquote defending Kyler for such a long time. And at the end of the year, I'm like, you know what? Like I'm open to conversations. Like Kyler needs to be better. It comes to a certain point where, I mean, somebody said in the chat, like it's been 6 years.
Yeah.
We know what Kyler is as an NFL quarterback. Granted, a completely different offense. He's under new coaching staff. This offense seems to be a little bit more friendlier to him than Cliff Kingsbury's was. But at the end of the day, man, like you're a franchise quarterback. You got the massive $230 million contract. Like you are owning the expectations. And so the expectations are for you to produce and get this team back to the playoffs. And I think 2025 is the perfect year that we're going to find out exactly what Kyler Murray is as a player, because if he, again, kind of struggles a little bit, then those conversations are going to start to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and that's not even to ignore the fact that the whole narrative of just like crashing and burning. I mean, not just him in general, but just like the Cardinals organization in general. I mean, I would love to see that fixed. Obviously the big games that you need to win are November and December. That's playoff football essentially, right? You gotta, finish strong, and we haven't really seen that. Because I mean, even when we went to the playoffs that last time, I believe it was 2021 when we started off
Mhm.
7-0, like we were doing so well, and then we kind of got back into the playoffs. And at that point, I was like, "Yeah, I'll take it. It's fine." But like at this point, like I want to start seeing some more consistent play out of him. And I know there's a lot of people that kind of come at me and saying, "Oh, you put everything on his shoulders," but year 7, I mean, it's kind of put up or shut up time. I do think Kyler Murray is still signed under contract for the next following years, but this is where I really want to start seeing him take that next step, man. I think we got the weapons around him. There's not a lot of teams that have a Trey McBride right now.
Yep.
Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. when they had that lot, the top 10 wide receiver list. Did you end up seeing that? I believe it was from ESPN.
I did. Yeah,
Yeah,
nowhere to be found, but
nowhere to
that's
be found.
expected, man. And
Yeah,
like, Marv bulked up over the offseason, and I remember being in his press conference earlier in the offseason, and somebody asked him what he was looking to improve on, and he was just like, "Whenever I watch film, it's not necessarily like me making the catch, but where defenders are attacking me, like at the point of attack, whenever I'm catching the ball, where they're at before, where they're at like after, like his attention to detail is." Pristine. Like you
yeah,
can tell it was like he was made in the lab. Like you can tell he was raised by an NFL Hall of Fame receiver. Like just how
right.
he carries himself, how he approaches the game. So I think that on top of the experience, like I'm expecting big things from Marvin year 2, which should only help Kyler, right? Because not every quarterback, like you said, has a Trey McBride, has a Marvin Harrison Jr. And let's not forget, like the Cardinals run the ball better than majority of the teams in the National
Facts.
Football League too.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody has a James. Not a lot of people have James Conner as well. A lot of people don't. And then now Trey Benson. I mean, I'm really expecting big things from Trey Benson as well. So like we got weapons now. I always kind of feel like I ignore Michael Wilson. I like Michael Wilson as well, like Greg Dortch. But yeah, I mean those main weapons at the very top. I think we got enough to potentially hit double-digit wins. Now we're going to be diving into the NFC West rankings a little later on. But yeah, I think for the most part, I'm actually feeling a little better like going into 2025 because the
Yeah.
expectations is back. Man, we haven't had expectations in a very long time. It's always let's see what sticks to the wall and we'll kind of go from there. But I absolutely love it. Let's see what Kyler Murray can do. I know a lot of eyes are on him. I've heard a lot of national media as well when they're talking about the Arizona Cardinals saying that same thing. We're only going to go as far as Kyler Murray is going to take us. So, all right, love to hear it. Let's move on over to. I asked you a little early before the stream. I said, give me your top 3 players you need to look out for here in 2025. Now, training camp does start next Thursday. Is that correct? Right, next Thursday.
First open practice is next Thursday. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, but I did ask you this. What are those three players to look out for? I believe I'm actually starting off. No, actually, we're starting off with your list first. So I do have a graphic here. I know you can't see it on your end, but what are your 3 players to look out for and why?
Yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr., Cody Simon, and Isaiah Adams. And I know Marvin Harrison Jr. might be the low hanging fruit whenever it comes, but I think whenever it comes to unlocking the Arizona Cardinals offense and getting it to a new level in 2025, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be the key proponent in making that happen. Because if Marvin Harrison Jr. shows up and the production is different. He looks like an established receiver that everybody had hoped he would have been last year. That opens up the playbook so much for Drew Petting and Kyler Murray and everybody else in company too. So a very good and improved Marvin Harrison Jr. Will just unlock and open up so many things for Arizona's offense. So low hanging fruit for sure, but like it's got to be the obvious one that's pointed out, right? Cody Simon, middle linebacker, 4th-round pick, day 3 guy out of Ohio State. The inside linebacker starting spot opposite of Mac Wilson seems to be pretty open right now between him, Akeem Davis-Gaither, and Owen Papo, too, among a couple of other names. So it's really tough to ask a day 3 pick to come in and start right away in the National Football League, especially at middle linebacker, especially if he's going to be carrying the green dot and relaying the communication and the play calls from the defensive coordinator to everybody else in the field. But Cody Simon, defensive MVP for the national championship game, defensive MVP for the Rose Bowl, the game before that, called the defense for Ohio State his last season, earned the block O that's given to guys for their leadership and excellence on and off the field. So his resume is very, very impressive. And so if there's ever like a 4th-round pick who probably could kick that door down, it's going to be Cody Simon. So if Simon plays like he did at Ohio State, we're going to have a very, very fun competition to watch next to Mac Wilson for the other starting inside linebacker spot. And then Isaiah Adams, games are won in the trenches. That's where it starts. That's where it ends. Adams helped replace Will Hernandez last year after Will went down with that ACL injury, and I think in week 5. Him and Tristan Colon alternated but between right guard starting duties before Adams kind of took it and owned it. They haven't re-signed Will Hernandez, which I think is a very, very big vote of confidence in Isaiah Adams. Second-year guy, third-round pick. They seem to be pretty confident in him. If he can kind of take that next step and be that solidified starter, I think the Cardinals will be able to both run the football efficiently and obviously keep Kyler Murray upright and healthy, which is obviously a very important thing for Arizona if they want to make the postseason. So maybe not the prettiest pick, but Isaiah Adams, I think he's going to be a big key, and maybe the difference between the Cardinals offensive line and being mad to being, oh, okay, this is more than serviceable. We can run the football.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I really do love your list. I mean, I know you said that you know, it's not flashy or anything like that, but this is a great list. I mean, obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. going to his year 2. Cody Simon, man, like I've been talking about him for, this whole offseason once we drafted him because there is a real competition there. Now, he probably might not start. I mean, I know we signed Akeem Davis-Gaither for a couple years. So he might get the nod, but just really depends if he has a fantastic, training camp. You never know exactly what happens. And then Isaiah Adams, which I've been talking about him as well, being that right guard for the Arizona Cardinals because of Will Hernandez not being there. It almost kind of gives him the opportunity to kind of have that job because I mean if you look at outside the roster here, I mean, there's not really much other people after him. So he's kind of, put up or shut up time. So I'm really excited to see what Isaiah Adams can do there. Now, let me give you my list here in terms of what I have, players to look out for. And of course, whenever you're asked, multiple different reasons. So, but this is going to be my list here. So and I will be telling you what I have. So I got Xavier Weaver, and let me tell you exactly why. It goes back to the whole weaponry. It goes back to the whole I want to feel a little bit more confident with the wide receiving core that we have. I've been pretty high on Xavier Weaver since we got him as a undrafted rookie. I believe it was last year. So I really do like him. I think he could be a really good asset. We've seen him in the Green Bay game when Marvin Harrison Jr. went down. I believe it was with a concussion. So we've seen a little bit here and there, but I do believe he's got the intangibles and the, potentially to be a really good wide receiver. I'm not talking about wide receiver number 1 or anything like that, but we're just looking for a solid, consistent number 3, right? So I have Xavier Weaver here. I'm really going to keep my eyes on him to see exactly what he's going to do. But like, I know Greg Dortch is most likely going to be that starting slot guy, but I'm talking about for the future because every time Greg Dortch, I feel like it's always a year basis. Like, okay, we'll bring you back, bud. Like you're coming back, but it's always a year. I'm looking for somebody consistent in a long term, a playmaker that's going to be able to take the top off. And I really do like Xavier Weaver and what he did in Boulder. So I'm going to keep my close eye on him. I got Will Johnson as my number 2 guy. Biggest reason as to why is that I love our cornerback depth that we have in this team. Like this is the first time I'm coming into a season saying, damn, like this is really, really awesome. Like I love all these young pieces that we brought in. Like, and we're not even talking about Elijah Jones, what 3rd round pick last year out of Boston College, which was an IR. What could he do for the Arizona Cardinals now? Of course, I think I already know what the starting lineup's going to look like, and I think Will Johnson's going to be in there. But just for the, I guess, I don't know, the excitement of having a potential 1st round pick as a 2nd rounder. I'm excited to see what he's going to do in training camp. And then I got Darius Robinson. There's so many photos floating around the internet, and my favorite one is when he's standing right next to JG. This man looks like a mammoth, a
Terminator, yeah.
Terminator. That's another one. Yeah, he looks so massive. It's so crazy, and I'm just so excited to see what he's going to do in his year 2. We all know what happened in his year 1. Obviously, injury, off the field stuff with his mother unfortunately passing away. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do for the Arizona Cardinals in the defensive line, cornerback, and defensive line. I don't think I've ever been so excited about going into a season like I am going into 2025. So these are my top 3 guys that I want to keep my eye on, but there's so many other players that I can put on this list. Like I think you can pick and choose other players as well. What do you think of who I got? Weaver, Johnson, and Darius.
Yeah, I think Weaver, even dating back to last year, like there was a lot of Colorado people where he played college at that thought he should have been drafted. So the fact that he went undrafted and the Cardinals kind of snagged him was maybe a little bit of a value pick. He really impressed in training camp, and like for him to have made the roster as an undrafted guy, like that says something. Like, the undrafted guys making a final 53-man roster, like that's not normal. That's not everyday stuff. So clearly he has the trust of the coaching staff. Obviously he's considered a project for a variety of different reasons, but towards the tail end of the year, I think in that Niners game, I think they tried to throw him a couple deep balls to get him involved. But obviously we've seen him have success in training camp before. Like year 2, he should be even better theoretically on paper. So like you said, man, like you're not looking for him to replace Marvin Harrison Jr. But they do need that kind of big play guy who can take the top off of the defense and make plays downfield. So maybe Weaver can be that guy. We'll see. And then Darius Robinson, I just think like he's He was so good before that calf injury, man. Like I remember being 10 feet away watching one-on-one drills. It might have been at the red white in practice, but like watching Darius Robinson move Paris Johnson Jr. back like he wasn't even there. I'm just like this guy's one of the strongest guys in the league already, and he's a rookie. And so to see the transformation that he made from year one to year two physically, he didn't get to play as many games as he would have liked, obviously for very various reasons. But like the talent is still there, and like now he's in a room to where like there's not pressure on him. The Cardinals added so many guys around him, both the veterans and through the draft, to where like he's not expected, hey Darius, go play 45 snaps per game. Like we're gonna need 10 sacks out of you.
Right.
That doesn't exist. It's really going to be a committee approach, and I think that's going to be so beneficial for him.
Absolutely. We've got my guy TJ here in the chat saying, I feel like we're going to have an O-line that will be top 5 in pass pro this year. Hopefully. What do you think about the O-line?
Top 5 might be a little tough. Top 10 might be a little bit of tough. I'm not concerned about the left side of the line. I think Paris is great. I think Evan Brown is kind of underrated whenever talking about like left guards throughout the league. Froholt is a very, very good center. It's wait and see mode with Isaiah Adams, and then what's Jonah Williams going to look like?
Yeah.
Like that's the big question for me. There's a giant, not gap, but the giant question mark at right tackle. If that right side of the line can hold up, I do think it could be like a borderline top 10 unit, but I think there may be a piece or two away from being a top 5.
Fair. All right. Yeah, no, I do think that our offensive line is underrated, but I don't think top 5 for sure. I think maybe we can definitely potentially draft one maybe in a year or two and maybe get those pieces solidified to get that. But I think we got some really underrated guys that a lot of people don't really focus on. Evan Brown's one of my favorite. I think he did a really fantastic job. Froholt has been very, very underrated in this league for a very long time. Fantastic. But I agree with you. I think that the whole Jonah Williams brought in at one point was supposed to be one of our big splash signings. It just really kind of hasn't lived up to the hype. I know he did really solid in the very small sample size in the beginning.
Yeah, the one quarter we got
the
last
one
year.
quarter
Yeah,
that we got, and then it kind of went down. He came back and he just, I don't know, it almost kind of felt like just throw Kelvin Beachum back out there. But I understand that they brought him in here for a reason, so they want to kind of make that fit. Let me ask you this real quick. Cornerbacks. I mentioned the fact that we have so much potential here with our cornerbacks. Right now, if you're starting to see like a starting lineup for our cornerbacks and including the nickel, who do you got as our outside guys and obviously the nickel?
Okay, I would love to see Will Johnson day one, but I think that's going to be very wait and see depending on what he looks like and depending on what the other veteran guys ahead of him look like. If you're asking me to predict the week one starting lineup right now, I think it's Garrett Williams in the slot.
Yep.
Then I think it's going to be Starling Thomas and Max Melton as the two outside corners. I think both of them played very, very fine last year. Obviously, you would hope over the offseason because it's a young cornerback room. That's why when Sean Murphy Bunting went down, like his 7 years of experience, like he won a Super Bowl. Like I know a lot of people were very critical of his play, and rightfully so. But he brought that like veteran mentality and that leadership to that cornerback room. And without him, like the veteran guy on the field is Garrett Williams, who's entering his 3rd year. Yeah. Right. Like it's there's a lot of youth, but inexperience at the same time in that room. So that leaves an opportunity for like a guy like Melton, who like seemed to come on towards the end of last year. And then a guy like Starling Thomas, who, undrafted guy, I believe, but like he really kind of like found his footing as an NFL corner. So like, you don't need all pro play from those guys, especially with guys like Jalen Thompson, Budda Baker behind you, and the great front seven that the Cardinals have assembled. So I do think Will Johnson can start week one. Will he? As of right now, I'm just gonna pause and say they don't want to throw him into the fire quite yet. But like I'm very excited for Will Johnson.
Me too, man.
Excited to watch him.
Me too. If I were to give a suggest or just a prediction out there, I'm gonna obviously go against you. I'm gonna say Will Johnson. I'm gonna say Max Melton, and then in the slot, Garrett Williams. Man.
See, that's not crazy. That's not outlandish to say or think, because Will Johnson is that talented to where he could start from day one.
And it's the crazy thing, man, too. And I'm excited about Garrett Williams, man. Garrett Williams is going to have himself a crazy year. I remember like in his rookie year, he came in I believe it was in Seattle. Like the first game, he just had a pick, and we're like, what the heck's going on? This defense is like, we didn't expect that to happen. But obviously, he was supposed to be a first-round talent, got hurt in Syracuse. Cardinals got him in the 3rd round, and he's been well, man. Whenever you're looking at PFF grades, he's
one of the best corners in the league. He doesn't get talked about, but he's one of the best corners in the National Football League.
Yeah. Do you think it's because he's more of a nickel cornerback? Do you think that's why? Because he's not a shutdown outside guy?
slot corners don't get as much love as the boundary
Yeah.
guys who match up against the team's number one receiver. But whenever the Cardinals are in their base like 3-4 defense, like he's a boundary corner, and then the Cardinals also utilize him as a safety in some looks too. Like he's extremely versatile. He does a lot for their defense, and I think that's a tribute to his talent and then his football IQ too. But yeah, man. So that slot corner spot doesn't do him any good. And then being very honest, like playing for the Cardinals and the Cardinals not being all that great also doesn't do him any favors. But I will say he is eligible for a contract extension next offseason. He's going to get paid, and
Yeah.
rightfully so.
Oh, absolutely. We got Chill Peasy in the chat saying Star became solid as the season progressed. Keitrell Clark too. Let me real quick before we get off the cornerbacks, because like I said, this cornerback group I really do like. We got Keitrell Clark and Elijah Jones, which kind of seems like they're on the outside looking in. And I believe did Jaden Davis make the? He didn't make the 53.
Jaden Davis still there, and then Denzel Burke, 5th-round pick
That's
this
right.
year
And then you
at
got
Ohio
Burke.
State. Yep.
How many realistic cornerbacks can you bring into a 53-man
So that's the question, man. There's a lot of competition. There's only so many spots when you're kind of assembling a final 53. The Sean Murphy Bunting injury really opened up the door for one of those other guys to sneak in on the roster. Whether that's Keitrell Clark or Denzel Burke or Jaden Davis or Elijah Jones, whatever it might be. But that's good. That's a good thing for the Cardinals because competition breeds excellence. And so we're going to see who the best cornerbacks are over the course of preseason and training camp. And the Cardinals will have some definitely tough decisions to make from there.
This preseason is going to be very fun to watch. And I know I said this last year as well, but every time I have any Cardinal football back, it's very exciting to watch. I'm excited about that. The defensive line, real quick. Do you think it's going to continue to be that the player by committee type of thing? I mean,
100%. It only got deeper. It only got deeper. And I think that incentivizes guys like Nick Rallis to only do that further. I mean, we're talking about last year entering the year that where Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols were the two projected starters. And now they've added so much talent through both the draft and free agency that they could get cut. They really could get cut. And then you're looking at guys who like performed really, really well. Like Dante Stills is going to be buried in that rotation. He was arguably one of their better defensive players last year. It's stacked both that defensive tackle, defensive end, edge rushers. So they're definitely going to use that. They like to keep those guys fresh anyway and keep them rotated and play them situationally, but especially with the vast amount of talent in that room. Yeah. I think the Cardinals are thrilled with where their defensive line room is at right now. And they should be.
Yeah, absolutely. B.J. Ojolari coming back healthy as well. Hopefully he can stay healthy. You got Josh Sweat as the big time splash move. So we got, I mean, it's just crazy to look last year to see who was the sack rushing leader. And at one point it was Dante Stills, but we ended up getting Zaven Collins again that I believe that final sack in the final 2 games. Or one of those 2 games, but I believe he ended up with like 5.5 sacks. There's so much room.
I think Zaven did, yeah.
Right? There's so much room for like somebody to come up here and be that guy for us. And we added so much talent with bringing in Calais and Dalvin Tomlinson. I love the moves that they made for the defensive side of the ball. It was the biggest weakest point. And now it almost kind of feels like it flipped it on its ear. And now the offense, I'm like more questions than anything, which we'll see. Let me ask you one last question, then we'll move on. I promise. Next question is sack leader. You think it's going to be Josh Sweat?
I mean, you're paying him what, $19 million a year? Like you certainly hope so, right? But that being said, I do think that the guys inside, somebody's going to eat, whether it's Josh Sweat or somebody else, or maybe the edge rusher opposite of him. This isn't a very popular opinion, I guess, in the land of like Cardinals fans, but I think right now, if you're asking me to predict like a starting edge rusher duo, it's Sweat and Baron Browning. Ojulari, like he's coming off a serious knee injury. He looked so good before that injury, but like you can't expect him to look like he did initially, at least coming back from that. Zaven Collins, I think, plays the run incredibly well, but he doesn't consistently get after the quarterback like you would like him to. They traded for Baron Browning last year. They really liked him. They brought him back in free agency. They like what he did. Like pass metric wise, he didn't get a ton of sacks, but like he got to the quarterback pretty consistently once he finally kind of got his footing in Arizona. So they seem to like him. I think he'll get the first crack at it. Jordan Birch too, that edge rusher, like defensive end, outside linebacker hybrid from Oregon. Like they seem to really, really like him too. If you're asking me to predict sack leaders, it's got to be Sweaty J though.
Yeah,
it's got to be him, man.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I agree. All right, let's move on over to the NFC West rankings, right? And this might ruffle some people's feathers, especially if you're a 49er fan, a Ram fan, or a Seahawk
Yeah.
fan. But we are going to try, and we agree. So I only got one graphic. It is put under your list. It's called the Donnie's list, but we agree on this. But I want to kind of get your take on why you feel the way that you have. So let me go and paint you
Sure.
the picture that are just not watching the screen. NFC West ranking in 2025. I agree with this prediction. This is what he has. He is number 1, the Los Angeles Rams, number 2, the Arizona Cardinals, number 3, the San Francisco 49ers, and number 4, the Seattle Seahawks. Tell me why.
Before we get into this, I need to add a disclaimer that you can shuffle any of those 4 teams in any order, and I could understand it. Like
Yeah,
this division very much is as wide open as I think it's been in a very, very long time. So the Cardinals could finish first, they could finish fourth, the Niners could finish first, they could finish fourth. I would completely understand it, get it, however you want to quantify it. That being said, I think the Rams are deservedly so the favorites to
yeah,
repeat as NFC West champs. They've got such a good football team.
they
And when
do.
it's coached by Sean McVay, and yeah, they lost Cooper Cup, but they got Devontae Adams. They can run the football with pretty much anybody back there at running back. Matthew Stafford, like, I think the wheels are starting to fall off a little bit with him, but like I think he's still capable of being a guy who can lead that team to a playoffs. And then they've got like the best pass rush in the league. Their defensive front is just so tenacious. It's such a problem for teams, and so I think when I look at the Rams and what they did last year, I feel like they maintained that level of success. So at least moving in to the 2025 season, they've got my respect as the number 1 team in the division until further otherwise. And I really think the Cardinals are going to take a step up this year. I really, really do. I think the defensive additions in the offseason and like maybe Kyler Murray playing a little bit more consistently gets them from that like 8-win realm to that 10-win realm. And then we're talking and then we're cooking. But it's all contingent on Kyler. But I do think the defense and the added talent there and another years of experience for a guy like Jonathan Gannon, it's only going to do them good. And you look at them like on paper, they barely missed the playoffs last year. They only got better over the offseason, in my opinion. So theoretically, they should make that jump. How
Right.
large that jump is remains to be seen, but I do expect them to be better. And then this is where it gets fun. This is where it gets really, really fun, especially for people who don't cheer for the Rams and the Cardinals. Everybody seems to believe the 49ers are going to make another Super Bowl run, and I do not see it. I do
Yeah,
not see a path where they've lost so many people, either due to injuries or due to free agency, leaving, trade, whatever it might be. They lost a lot of talent
they did.
this offseason. They're only getting older. We know what Brock Purdy is. We know what Kyle Shanahan is as a head coach, as a play caller. I will say, them getting Robert Saleh back is very, very big. He is one of the league's best defensive coordinators, and with that, I could very much understand if like Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, that 49ers team can really make a push and really make a run. So I'll buy that for sure. I'm just very much in like the wait and see mode with San Francisco, and I'm not buying the stock in them. I think their Super Bowl window is over. I
Yeah,
do. And so we'll see with that. And then the Seahawks, man, 10-7 last year, almost won the division. I think when you look at the Seahawks, it basically comes down to what your opinion of Sam Darnold is.
right.
Because Sam Darnold without Kevin O'Connell dialing up plays for him, we'll see. We'll see. And that's not a slap in the face to him, but like, I do not think Sam Darnold is going to replicate the success that he had last year. The Seahawks lost a bunch of weapons on the offensive side of the ball. It's going to be very, very different. Granted, they have talent stacked on all 3 levels of the defensive side of the football. Mike McDonald is a very, very underrated defensive guy, I feel like, but like I said, to me, this boils down to what your opinion of Sam Darnold
I
is.
agree.
And like, I do not buy Sam Darnold is a guy who can get you to the playoffs without Kevin O'Connell coaching him. And that's been proven multiple times. So
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head when it comes to the Seahawks. That they did lose a lot of talent. DK going to Steelers, and then Tyler Lockett being the veteran. I know he's not putting up the great numbers that he used to, but like he's still a really good weapon out there now. JSN's gonna have to kind of really put this team on their shoulders, and he seems to be the number one guy right now. I know they brought in Cooper Cup, but can Cooper Cup stay healthy? Like that's the big question out there. I
Yeah.
just don't think it's going to be able to happen. I do agree with your list. I think it's right on the head. I mean, I see the Los Angeles Rams. I have no reason to doubt that they're going to be able to run the West unless somebody proves otherwise, right? Like they got Stafford. Yeah, he is getting older, but I do think he's the best quarterback in the NFC West and arguably probably one of the best in the NFC just in general. I think he's a really solid quarterback over there. So whenever you have him and Sean McVay, you are going to be in playoff contention if they can stay healthy. Got the Cardinals at number 2 as well. The defensive pieces, I feel like it's going to be enough to clear the gap on the things that we were struggling with in a lot of those games we absolutely got obliterated on. Like there were some games we just could not stop the offense. Now, I'm not going to say we're going to be shutting down everybody, but the pieces that we added should be enough to hopefully balance it out for the Cardinals to maybe get 2 or 3 more wins with adding Josh Sweat, Dalvin Tomlinson, Calais Campbell. Like that's enough to give you at least 1 or 2 more wins in the season. So I got
Should be.
them. You know what I mean? And then you got the 49ers. You're 100% right. I love listening to like the national media, but like they're getting older, and all the weapons that they lost on the defensive side of the ball, Hargrave, Leonard Floyd, Hufanga,
Yep.
Dre Greenlaw, Ward, their cornerback, like they lost so much. They let go of or they traded Deebo Samuel, which I know they wanted to get rid of him because he got fat. but at the end of the day, like those are still weapons that Brock Purdy can use. You got George Kittle, which is really good. It seems like they're really hoping on Juwan Jennings, but we still don't know when Brandon Ayuk is coming back. Like
Mhm.
I don't know, man. There's just a lot of unknown when it comes down to the 49ers. Whenever I hear it, I always kind of feel like they just want to copy and paste. Oh, they've been there before. That's what it feels like. I don't think the 49ers are going to be that great. I really don't. Like, they're going to win games. Like, their only bright spot is that their schedule is fairly lax. So, like, that's the bright spot that they got going for them. And then I agree with you with the Seattle Seahawks. I just don't believe in Sam Darnold, man. I don't. Now, I also didn't believe in Geno Smith, and he was really the only
Right.
one that
Yep.
he was the only one that really kind of smacked us around. But if you really look at 2024, we could have beat the Rams. Like we were a head doink away from potentially beating the Rams. We completely obliterated them the very first time we met them. We swept the 49ers. The only real team that kind of gave us crap was the Seahawks. Like, because their
Yeah.
defense, we couldn't figure it out. They were consistently harassing and making Kyler Murray doing silly mistakes. The Seahawks were really the only team that kind of got us in the corner. The other two teams, I think with the improved defense, I think the Cardinals can really, really make a big jump in the NFC West. I'm not going to say win it. But I do think that we can definitely very well be the top or second. Sorry, second.
Yeah. I think it's going to be so close to like I really don't see a team just like barring injury, obviously bottoming out. Like the race between spot number 1 in the NFC West and spot number 4, like it's going to be tight. Like I really do think this division is going to come down to the wire. And like I would not be surprised if 3 or maybe even all 4 teams were still kind of like fighting for it. Maybe like last year with the NFC North, how like that was such a competitive division between the Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings. I could easily see that happening again this year in the NFC West.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. I mean, this division is wide open with that second spot. Like I said, I mean, you're right. I mean, the Rams could falter and not do well, but at the end of the day, I have no reason to doubt that they're not. Let's do this last thing, and then we'll put a nice, pretty little bow on it. If I were to ask you right now, record prediction, just over under, right? Don't give me a specific. Yeah, over under. If I were to tell you the Arizona Cardinals in 2025 was set at 10 wins.
Ooh.
Yeah. Expectations are up there, man. Expectations
Yeah.
are high. So I'm getting at least over 10 wins.
I think 10 wins is a sweet spot. Like I really, really do. Because when I think back the last year at the 8-9 finish, you would hope they got 2 wins better over the offseason with the stuff they did on the defensive side of the ball, and the improved continuity between Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray. That's tough because there were a lot of games where they barely lost last year, and there were a lot of games where they barely won last year too, man. You know what? It's before training camp. There's optimism around everywhere. I'll take the over. I'll take the over on the Arizona Cardinals so far.
I love that you led with that. I mean, it's true. It is the optimism time. I mean, this is the time where we get excited and pumped up about training camp stuff. So
everybody loves their team at this point in the offseason, right?
True, 100%. Yeah, until we hit May, October, November, and then we're all looking at the draft or something. But no, I have a lot of expectations for this team. I think there's going to be a lot of good things. So you take the over on the 10?
I'll take the over. Yeah. If you're asking me record prediction, I would go 10 wins exactly, but over or under, I'll take the over.
All right, perfect. Sounds good. All right. Well, Donnie, one more time, let everybody know where they can find you. What are you doing in 2025? And for the Arizona Cardinals, like what are you covering and where they can find you?
Yeah, I'll be at games, practices, training camp stuff, all of that good things. I'm trying to make it out to the Monday night game in Dallas. That'll be a really, really cool
Ooh.
experience. So we'll see if I can do that. But follow me on Twitter at Donnie Druin, and you can follow our content at si.com/NFL/Cardinals.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you as always, man. Thank you so very much. Hopefully, we'll be able to chop it up during the season. It's going to be very, very exciting. I love the expectations. Let's get this going. So, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Smack the like button on your way out. We're on the road to 17K. Cannot do it without you guys. Smack it up. It's absolutely for free. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, go Cardinals.